Hey everybody. So we're going to talk about the circulatory system today, just part one though. Um, so when we look at kind of the origin of needing a circulatory system, we look at where we began or where life began with these single-celled organisms. Uh, and with these single-celled organisms, they required an exchange of material across the cell membrane to survive. They used it for energy, for nutrients, oxygen, and they used it to get rid of waste. Uh, so for a single cell, it's pretty easy. It's just use diffusion to do it. However, as they as organisms became more complex, meaning multicellular, it became more difficult to use this method. So they needed to develop some way to transport nutrients and energy and oxygen throughout the body, and also get rid of waste like urea or CO2. So as you can see, it's just an example. Really easy diffusion for single cell, very difficult for multicellular. So that's why we developed a circulatory system. Again, that can touch every single cell in the body, allowing for easier transport of materials into and out of the cell. So when we look at circulation in multicellular organisms, there's a few things that need to be transported. The first is nutrients and fuels. We humans get that from the digestive system. We also need to be able to transport respiratory gases like CO2 and oxygen from the lungs throughout the body and back to the lungs again. We also need to get rid of intercellular waste that was produced within the cells, like primarily urea, but we also sometimes need to get rid of water and salts as well. And again, we're talking about why circulation is needed. It's needed for protective agents like immune defenses, so a way for the immune system to get around throughout the body very easily. And also regulatory molecules like hormones can travel throughout the body to its destination and take effect. So also wanted to kind of show you this, and we'll probably talk more about it in class, but the evolution of the vertebrate circulatory system. We start with fish who possess a two-chamber heart. But as we went to land, we required a stronger heart in order to transport more air into our bodies, and so we evolved into a three-chamber heart. And reptiles evolved even further, and were able to actually separate sections of the heart off, whereas you see here in the amphibian, it's an intermixing of the oxygenated blood with the deoxygenated blood. So reptiles were able to create a barrier separating the two sides of blood. And then finally, birds and mammals evolved to have 4 chambers total. And this is a much more efficient system compared to all the others. So when we look at the vertebrate cardiovascular system or your circulatory system, everyone possesses a chambered heart, which is separated into 2 main chambers, which is called the atrium, which receives blood. So this would be the atrium up here and up here. So these sections receive the blood, and ventricles pump blood out. The cardiovascular system or the circulatory system also consists of blood vessels, and we'll talk more about these, about arteries, which kind of become smaller and become arterioles. We'll talk about veins. When they become smaller, become venules, and we'll talk about the capillaries, which are the smallest. So, excuse me. So when we look at the blood vessels, we're going to start talking about arteries. Arteries are very thick and elastic, and sorry. Continue talking. We're on slide. So just talking about the pathway of blood throughout the veins. Arteries starts with arteries. So the heart pumps blood into the arteries, and the arteries start to separate and branch out and become arterioles, and those arterioles separate and branch out even further, become capillaries, and then once it's in the capillaries, it starts to get bigger. So the vein becomes venules. These are a little bit bigger than capillaries, and the veins are even bigger than venules. Now we're talking arteries. So like I said, the arteries have really thick walls that provide a lot of strength for that high pressure environment of the blood being forced into the artery. A lot narrow diameter, and it's also elastic, so it kind of stretches, and we'll talk about that in class, kind of the reasoning for that. And elastic recoil helps maintain blood pressure even when the heart relaxes. So we'll talk more about this in class, but the idea is the heart pumps blood in, it expands, and then when the heart relaxes, it recoils and pushes the blood further on. And we'll talk more about it in class. Veins are actually built for low pressure, whereas going back, arteries are built for high pressure. So veins don't have the elasticity. They're very thin-walled. They have a wider diameter. And they also contain valves, which help with the transport back to the heart. So these veins pump blood back to the heart, and they're able to do that even though there is low velocity and pressure in those veins. It's very low because it's already kind of spread out in the capillaries, and now the capillaries are condensing again, becoming the veins and the venules. A lot of that pressure is lost. We'll talk further about this in class and that idea of why pressure is lost. And then valves, however, inside of the veins, so here's a valve, actually prevent backflow of blood. So it comes in, and then your muscles relax, and it stays in there. And then whenever you move your muscles again, it pushes it further. Capillaries, very thin walls. They lack two outer wall layers. So they're very, very thin. You want that to be that way because it enhances the exchange across the capillary with oxygen and CO2 and other materials, other nutrients. Diffusion happens between the blood and the cells surrounding the capillary. And then finally, the ability to control blood flow to the tissues. We use these things called sphincters. And we use sphincters a lot because it's like a control system through different valves. So we talked about sphincter a little bit with the digestive system. We have another type of sphincter in blood. And it kind of controls blood flow in the capillaries. So we look here, we have, sphincters are open, and up here sphincters are closed. So that basically, what this allows to happen is after a meal, your body wants to focus a lot of the blood towards your digestive tract to pick up as much nutrients as possible. So what it does, these sphincters basically push blood, not push, but close off different areas so that concentrates in your digestive tract. Whereas if you're exercising, then it closes these valves off and makes it so most of the blood is transferred to the brain or the different extremities to the skeletal muscles. So capillaries in the brain, heart, liver, and kidneys usually fill to capacity at all times because, again, they're vital organs. And that's it, folks. Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye.